Being feminine is taking your power back.
I don't mind a man holding my bag. Hold my bag.
There's a lot of pressure on men, and I don't think there's enough light shed on that.
There's nothing wrong with expecting certain men to do things for you.
We can get things done as women.
There is still so much trauma in just being a woman.
Hello, welcome to Roundtable. I'm Sukaina, and today we're going to be discussing toxic femininity. Let's get this discussion started. When you hear feminine, what comes to mind?
I feel like a feminine is someone who is unapologetically themselves, no matter what anybody else thinks. They're so secure and confident in who they are and how that makes them feel.
The words just coming to mind are like divine, angelic, God-given gift.
Yes.
Motherhood. I know it doesn't apply to every single woman, but that's what it means to me.
Okay. What about you?
I agree with Chrissy. I think my femininity comes from God. My identity as a woman, yeah, it's just very, nurturing, very, I look forward to motherhood one day. But yeah, I love being a woman.
To me, feminine, it's like when I hear that word, it does give me like traits of a woman. So graceful, soft, gentle, to name a few from the women that are in my life. And, you know, those kind of traits that they have, they're all women that I look up to, like my sisters, my mom.
Yeah, just to echo what the girls have said, when I think about feminism, I think about the characteristics that go with femininity. So being gentle, being caring, being nurturing, being obviously not everyone, but a mother, like nurturing, looking after younger children. Like if you see a child by themselves on the street, where's your mom? Like just natural instinct, do you know what I mean?
So I feel like there's been stages or parts of my life where I felt like I've had to be excessively feminine or act in a certain way in order to be deemed feminine and be, taken on board. And I feel like sometimes it's to do with dressing. Obviously, I'm a Christian, and at the same time, I make content, and I want it to look a certain way on social media to get a certain kind of audience. And I feel like the fact that you have to do that, it just makes it very difficult because it clashes with you may not want to live or dress that certain way or behave that certain way, but you know what it will get. I know they say men love when women wear dresses and stuff like that, and it's sometimes we have to dress a certain way to get that kind of attention. It may not be the kind of attention we want, but it's have you guys ever had to feel like you did that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like personally with me, being a presenter and host, it's all about performing for the male gaze, unfortunately, even down to the lengths of the dresses that we wear. And, the idea is sex sells, right? Mm-hmm. And everything is so overly sexualized these days. But I feel like being feminine is taking your power back and saying, you know what, I'm not going to be controlled and I'm not going to perform. If I want to wear a short dress, I'll wear it on my terms. What about you, Shaq? As a man?
Do you know what? It's actually kind of crazy because I don't know, if you guys remember, there was a whole era where the whole, if a guy was too sensitive or too emotional, he'd be sassy.
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable with my sexuality. I can hang with the girls, do you know what I mean? But I still be very much a man. But it's being a content creator, if you do something that's a bit what people would class as feminine, then it's oh, he's sassy. Or so sometimes it's oh, you have to do extra to be more of a man or more masculine or sort of thing. For you ladies, in terms of how you dress and that sort of thing, you're gonna hear me talk about my older sisters a lot because they taught me a lot. And one of the things that they've kind of instilled into me and what I really believe is that, say for example, you're meeting a woman or something like that and she's dressed in a specific way and you liked it, you liked how she looked, and then once you got in a relationship, then it was no, you can't dress like that anymore. But it's this is how you met me. This is what you liked in the first place. So now, all of a sudden, why do I now have to change all of that? Because it doesn't now all of a sudden make you feel comfortable. Yeah. I'm very much a person where, if you have that trust in a relationship, you wouldn't even have to mention what she wears. She's gonna be I'm in a relationship, do I need to wear this? Or I can wear this, it doesn't mean I'm gonna entertain attention from other men sort of thing. So it's kind of about being comfortable and, trust in the woman that you're with.
It's all about trust, isn't it? What about you?
I think femininity in our TikTok generation, as they like to call it, is very much a trigger word.
Yeah.
It's rage bait. It's like, get into your feminine energy, feminine this, feminine that. And people just spout so much. Like, a lot of them don't actually know what they're talking about. And I think it actually can be a bit of a power play. I think what Shaq was saying about it kind of being used as a negative, as we've always known, that any feminine trait is looked down on. You don't want to be feminine, especially as a man. You don't want to have feminine traits. But I think something that's really important is emotional intelligence. And if you ask me, that's a feminine trait.
Absolutely.
And I think men need that. But it's not deemed powerful. It's not likable to be feminine. But I think it's really important. I also think it can be very performative, especially in our day and age, where everyone's like on social media trying to portray a certain look. They want to look like the perfect angel, feminine girl, but none of their attributes or their personality inwards reflects feminine energy whatsoever.
I think it's definitely performative because people expect something back if they're feminine.
Yes.
Whereas it's supposed to just be who you are and how you carry yourself. I know, like, even for myself, there's certain times where if I was wearing a dress like this, every man is opening the door for me. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that because I feel like people think if you're feminine, it's like, okay, not do things for yourself. It's ridiculous, genuinely, because that's just a trait that is needed in this world because it helps a lot of humility that people lack. I feel like definitely that's the performative aspect of it, and I feel like that should just be eradicated if possible.
Even with that, you know, with the power thing, like I feel like some people may take advantage of the feminism as well.
Absolutely.
For example, if I am out in a nice flowy dress and everyone's opening the door for me, I could feed on that.
Absolutely.
Even, oh, can you hold my bags for me? Can you do this for me?
Yeah.
But is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, but when you go to the extreme, it could get a bit toxic. I mean, obviously I don't mind a man holding my bag, hold my bag. But it's like, if it's like I'm entitled, I expect you to do that. That's a whole different mindset.
Is expecting wrong though?
Exactly. Because
I would expect.
Listen,
But it's the manipulation as well, though.
or are we falling into the roles that were God given?
Thank you.
Right? Because why am I carrying my chair in church service when there's a man right next to me?
No facts.
I refuse.
Clock it.
I refuse.
I think touching on everything that you guys have said, I feel like in this generation, the perception or the thinking, I should say instead, behind some young girls, women, is that they see what's online and be like, okay, that's the life that I want. That's who I want to be. And then they have this expectation. Naturally, as a gentleman, yes, I'll hold the door open for a woman. Yes, I'll pull out her chair. Yes, I'll stand up for her if I'm on a train and there's a woman that's standing up. That's naturally it, because that's how I was raised. But some women, and I emphasize on the some part, take advantage of that, and it's manipulation. So, for example, if you're going out and you don't know this woman and she will see you at the bar, you're expected to pay for her drink. You're expected to do this and hold that and do this if you don't know her. And it's like, if I'm speaking to someone, a stranger or a woman that I've just met or anything like that, and we're getting along and it's in a romantic way, and I'll be like, oh yeah, would you like a drink? Not, oh, so are you gonna get my drink then?
No, that's just greedy.
And I'm just, exactly, and that's the difference, because
That's no training.
if you're given the energy where it's like, okay, we're getting along, respectful, because not expecting it will make a man more inclined to do it.
Oh, that's good.
That's exactly toxic. I feel like I just want to add on that, because what you just described there, in my opinion, is toxic femininity, because healthy femininity, her energy would inspire you to want to buy her a drink, because she would invite you in with her, like, you know, when that feminine energy is like actually genuine and not performative. So I feel like you're 100% right. There are women out there who use that feminism and like give it a really bad name. But I also do feel like, let's not forget, we also have both masculine and feminine as a woman. And don't forget that that masculine energy does help us as women as well, because when we need to get things done, we got to step into that masculine energy sometimes, and it's for safety as well.
Personally, I try to like stay in femininity. I don't like feeling masculine. But I think that we can get things done as women. And I don't even think I'm taking on a masculine role, honestly. I think that it's about how you carry yourself. And yeah, you can be productive, you can get down to it, you know, work ethic, but also still carry yourself in a certain way. As a woman, I think that with male and female roles, yes, I would like to see a man like doing that. But as a woman, if I'm at home, you know, God forbid anybody's watching, like I'm gonna pick up whatever I need to pick up, but at the same time, I'm still feminine. I'm still carrying that energy, and I try to stay in that energy.
There's nothing wrong with expecting certain men to do things for you. And it's like, it also doesn't need to be in a romantic aspect. Like, I could be at a bar, minding my business, and I would still expect that man next to me to pay for my drink because he's a man and men provide, right? But I don't have to voice that to him. Do you know what I mean? I'm chilling here, I'm about to pay, and I'm expecting him to just do it. But if he doesn't, that's fine. But I don't think there's anything wrong, because that's where that aspect comes of, oh, why'd you expect da-da-da? It's like, we should, though.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with expecting men to do men things.
Men are meant to provide in certain situations, but it's for their woman, not every woman. I'm talking about, like, when you're talking about lifting something, carrying something, I would do that for a stranger, of course. But I'm talking about if it's something to do financially, that's not my friend at least, if we're just all in the same place doing our own thing, there's no expectancy from me to do anything for you because I don't know you. I don't know you from anywhere. I'm just talking about it from like a financial sort of situation, and I don't know you. I would do it for my friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be my girlfriend or my wife, but my female friends, yeah, of course. Like, we're all here, like, we're all friends, whatever, that sort of thing. But if I haven't even spoken to you, I have no inclination to do like that sort of thing, personally.
I feel like that's the difference between men and women. We don't need to know you sometimes, because there's things that me as a woman, a feminine woman, that I would do for a stranger.
I fear the younger generation, especially women, looking up to what they see with our TikTok generation right now. Because when we look at social media, we see women being really revealing, and we see that as feminism, when I kind of see that as oppressive, because you're relying on the likes, the views to make you feel good. That's not empowerment, that's dependence.
Absolutely.
Because we're depending on the external validation to make us feel good.
The definition of feminism has been so misconstrued.
Yeah.
Feminism in itself is empowerment. It's equality. But I think something more important than equality is equity. And I think as women, we need to fight for equity, not equality. Equality is what will keep us down. When we're working the same hours as men, when we're doing the same job as men, who our bodies were not made for that, that is when we are being done dirty yet again. It doesn't work. In the society we live in that was built for men, by men, we have just been thrown into the deep end to do exactly the same thing as them. I don't feel good. It doesn't work for my body. It doesn't work for my brain. It doesn't work for my anything. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. And I think that's why we're burnt out. That's why we're depressed. That's why we're anxious. And that's why we fall into things like toxic femininity.
I'm very much a person that has quite old school values in terms of when it comes to like my friends, my family, the women in my family, a partner or anything like that. Like, if there's something, for example, that needs lifting, carrying, building or whatever, if I see the person that I'm with or my sister or my mum or anything like that that's doing it, I'll be like, wait, hold on a second, let me do that. Like, without a thought sort of thing. I think when women were fighting for equality, same jobs as men and that sort of thing, certain jobs like that women have, I wouldn't necessarily be comfortable if my woman had that job. Like, I wouldn't want my wife to be a police officer or a firefighter or anything like that. I wouldn't want my mum or my sister or a friend of mine, the thought of them running into a burning building. As much as you can absolutely do that, and you have every right to do that, it's like, it's one of them ones where it's difficult because that's what women wanted, and I'm all for that because there are women that can do that. But just how I was raised and being around predominantly women in my family, it just doesn't sit right with me, with them being in certain situations.
I think feminism is all about choice, and that's the sweet spot. As long as women have the choice to be firefighters, to be homemakers, that is where I'm happy. But when we are now villainizing jobs like homemakers, like housewives, like mothers, that's where I have an issue. But as long as a woman wants to be a firefighter, great, slate, I love that for you.
It needs to be a collaborative process, not just the women trying to dismantle. I feel like the men need to be like, okay, we're tired of this too. We were told a lie too. Why were we told this, 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 and now we have to perform masculinity 24/7? It's exhausting. So I feel like it's a collective thing. Everybody needs to come forward and be like, okay, let's dismantle this system, because clearly it doesn't serve any gender, okay? And also, I just want to make a disclaimer that we include the trans community in this as well, and LGBT, because we're not here to speak today.
I feel like also, like, as a mother, because how you were saying, like, one thing about the equality and the workspace is, you know, when a woman is pregnant and she needs to go for maternity, and that time is not allocated enough for mothers enough that do the same jobs. Like, a man doesn't need time off when he's having a child, apart from when he wants to stay at home, but he needs to provide. So a lot of mothers have to, like, go back to work way earlier because they won't have pay. The maternity pay is crap. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, she has a job now. She has a parental role, which is a real life job. Stay-at-home mom is a job. A full-time parent is a job. And that's what she's talking about, how we were fighting for equality and not, like, the part that actually really matters. And I feel like that's what makes it very, it's not empowering, it's kind of like oppressing, because we're fighting to be seen as equals. And I also agree about how, like, our bodies aren't made to do certain things men do. I've always said, I say to my mom all the time, I was like, I wish they didn't fight for this, because I would have still been at home. I would be a stay-at-home wife happily because it was okay, do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to be doing crazy hours. Like, I want to actually just take care of the kids and stay at home. And people will shoot you on the internet for saying that. If I have a good man that is happily providing, a good Christian man who's doing what he needs to do, I will cook and clean.
Unfortunately, this is the problem that we currently face in today. That men are not able to provide fully anymore. And that is just the reality. Like, we have a cost of living crisis, inflation is inflating, like, just, you know, it's wild out here. So I think men are also, like, really struggling. And this idea that we could be housewives and just stay at home and have this soft life, you know, the soft life aesthetic, it's starting to become non-existent these days. With
that, yeah.
Do you feel that expectation?
I think as a man,
to be the sole provider?
100%. There's a lot of pressure on men, a lot of pressure, and I don't think there's enough light shed on that, because, you know, growing up as a man, any man, not just myself, there's all this expectation on men. You got to be strong. You have to provide. You have to do this. You have to go to work. You have to do that, and whatever. And I'm very much a person that believes that if I could, I would love my wife to stay at home all the time. And, you know, some people are in a position where they can do that, where they can just be like, yeah, I earn enough, so you stay at home with the family and be a full-time mum. But it's with this generation, people look online and see women say, oh, I don't need no man, I can do this, I can do that, whatever. But then you also want a man to then do everything for you. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it. You have to have a balance, because in this, I feel like men, kind of going back to what I said earlier, men will feel more inclined to do more things if the woman isn't putting that added pressure that is already on them from society. For example, if, like, in one day when I'm married, I would like there to be a conversation between me and my wife where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this and that, whatever, and I'm gonna pay for this and that. And she will be like, oh, babe, let's work something out where it's not always on you. That's gonna be like, oh my God. Because it's not like that, because it's like, you know, a woman, in my opinion, is also there to help provide peace to the man, to, like, take that pressure off him in a specific way where it's like, okay, I don't want him stressing already more than he already is. So what can I do? Where can I, like, where's my part that I can do to try and relieve that from him? And then it's gonna be like, you know what, like, this is a good woman. Okay, let's work something out. And I'm not saying, okay, let's always do things 50-50. I'm not saying that, because I want to take my girl out and I'm going to pay for it. If I want to do this, I pay for this. Like, nah, don't worry about it. Things like that. Of course I'm going to do that. But it's just having that conversation where she's just like, nah, babe, let me help as well.
Like, it's a collaboration.
Yeah, I feel like the boss babe culture and, like, the city girl lifestyle thing is so detrimental to men. Like, men may not feel like they know who they are anymore because, oh, you don't need me anymore. Oh, I'm independent, I can buy this, I can do this, do that. I love what you said about, okay, I want to buy something, but your babe is like, oh, let me contribute. Like, there's so much beauty in that than a girl just dismissing men, but then saying that they need them after is very, very toxic. And also I feel like, especially in this generation, like women feel that they're very, very much entitled to lean on a man, but then not have to do the work as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You want a traditional man, but you don't want to be a traditional woman.
Yeah, so it's like double standards.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
See, I feel like I always say to like some of my like female clients, because I do like dating and relationship coaching, and the women always come to me and they're like, I don't want to do 50-50, I'm not doing 50-50. And I always say to them, it doesn't need to be 50-50, but if you want, it can be 80, where the man gives 80%, but you give 20%. But here's the thing, the 20%, you decide what that 20% is. So for some women, that 20% could be like, right, so you rent the house and I'll pay for the utility bills, all sorted. But you decide what that 20% is. But I feel like that 20% means so much more to men. And if you can provide that, then it's more of a collaboration.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
I'm Egyptian. And my dad is the most typical Arab traditional man you'll ever meet. And he's Christian, right? So I was very much raised where the man, monetarily, like he provides everything. And I think when we talk about that 20%, I think actually you can, as a woman, give 100%. But it does not need to be monetary. I think as a woman, you will give to that man so much more than money.
yes.
And I think live by your means. Because no one's saying you need to live in a 3-bedroom penthouse in London. If your man can only afford a studio flat in Bumpkin Village, go live in Bumpkin Village. If you man love each other and you know your means, and he will provide 100% in that Bumpkin Village, then do it.
Exactly.
If you want to live in the 3-bedroom penthouse, then girl, you got to be paying too.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
To touch on everything Shaq said, I feel like a woman doesn't have to contribute financially at all. They can shoot me. I don't care.
I agree.
She has to do so much more, especially if, let's say now, this is a married couple that have kids. Because a man will come and say, oh, work is so hard for me. You don't know how hard it is taking care of children. I'm a mother, so I can tell you that. So it's like, you can come home and take a rest, but she's not taking a rest unless you're pulling your fatherly weight. There are independent women who at the back of their minds are tired of being independent. A good man comes along, shows her he can take care of her, she will let him in. Absolutely. I think like it's just...
And I think with that comes trust.
Yes.
And when we talk about submission, right?
Exactly.
It's like you have to really vet who you're submitting to.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like I'm
What else
independent because I have to be right now. Like, you know, my parents passed when I was 18. I'm 23, so I've been moving in a certain type of way. But when it comes to a partner, I'm single, but I very much vet my partners because it's like, I can't just get with anybody. And even the way I was raised, I'm Christian as well. When it comes to like partnership in the beginning stage, depending on where you're at, we can talk. But long term, I don't want to work. And I think also in the partner stage, you know, I don't believe in like, even like rooming together before marriage.
Yeah, I don't believe in that.
So, but also with that, I'm just listening to y'all because I think that there are a lot of things that when it comes to marriage, it's very different than like dating or courtship.
Exactly.
Because courting is your vetting, but it's like, can we set those expectations that early?
The love that you give your girlfriend and your wife should be the same, but there's certain things a wife will receive that a girlfriend wouldn't. For example, if you're living with someone before marriage, there needs to be discussion. But when you're married, if that's my wife, do you get what I'm saying? Some women these days where they're like, for example, the women that are like, oh, I don't need no man, I can do this, I can do that, whatever. They then follow that up with, that's why men ain't any good. So how can you expect a man to want to come in and then take over and take that off of you when you've just insulted me off the bat? Because I can tell you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times of women where women are like online saying, men are no good. But then they're complaining that they're single.
Yes.
Okay, I feel like I can add something on that because I'm in that world with the Shearer and the Wizard Liz.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're dating
Relationship coaches,
gurus,
yeah.
female empowerment figures.
What kind of message are they sending?
Well, just
It's too different.
get your bag.
Yeah. I feel like
But like, I mean, look, Shearer's quite funny. I mean, I love her. She's very tongue-in-cheek, but she's never ever going to give you love advice. She's going to give you financial advice. And her advice is literally just find any old man who's got money, will put you up and take care of you. And always just like compose your emotions.
Any man.
no.
Any man.
No, it's not.
that message is crazy.
No, wait, let me touch on that
but because if
more
my
clarity.
because this is why like this is why the young girls are on this generation will be like, when I grow up, I want a rich man.
Yep.
No.
Why not? Why not? I
Wait.
want to grow up and be a doctor, a surgeon. I want to do this. I want to go to university. I want to grow up and find a rich man. Like, if my daughter came to me and I said, "Oh, sweetheart, what do you want to be when you grow up?" "Oh, I want to be with a rich man." I'm gonna realign your thinking there.
Just to touch on that, right?
Fair enough.
Although that is her message, there's background to it. It's like everybody's listening, but the right woman is listening. So her message it's not about, I took a message, it's not only find just any rich man. It is court and find a rich man that you like, you are happy with, you have chosen, because there's nothing wrong with you meeting a business CEO or a doctor. There's nothing wrong with you meeting a rich surgeon and marrying him and him take care of you. That's what she's trying to say in a very, however her way is. But it's also like, in that, while you marry this rich man, she still does say, have your own.
Yeah.
When you court him in a certain way, like behave a certain way that is true to yourself as a feminine woman. She's not saying go out there, sling and do whatever just to get any old rich man, but the women who are clued in are hearing it the right way.
What about feminism with our own?
Girls
and girls. Like, have you ever been judged by a woman? Have you ever been like criticized by a woman?
My grandmother, like being around her, she's always like nitpicking like on what I'm wearing. Like she probably wouldn't approve of this top, right? Even like growing up, she told me that she's never farted. Like, so I thought like, no, I'm so serious. Like as a woman, I thought like it was inappropriate to fart. Like I was like, wait, I fart. So it's just like, I came from a and I don't know if it was toxic, but I appreciate it. Like even my mom, she put me in it's very bougie, but like an etiquette class. So I learned how to like, sit up straight, like drink tea and stuff. So like I love being a woman, but I think that I'm not judgmental at all, but I'm very cautious of how I'm presenting myself because people are watching. Little girls are watching.
I think something that I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it resides in every single one of us, is internalized misogyny. And I think a lot of people don't understand it or realize it. But I know for me growing up, oh my gosh, it was awful. Like that, like just, you don't even realize how much you hate yourself, how much you hate your gender, your sex, and how you will perpetuate that onto other women, even to the closest women to you. Like, thank God it's never been me, but I know like a lot of mothers will perpetuate that onto their girls, right? Sisters will do it to each other. I know that I've probably growing up done and said some really bad things to my sister, or like, slut shaming or this or that. And it's all because we are trying to, who are we trying to win? We're trying to win the men. And we have to win them over by trying to pull each other down.
Yeah, pick-me's.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
The root of all internalized misogyny. They love it, they die for it. But again, you have to, I think a lot of it comes from immaturity.
I also feel like it comes from, just add on what you said, not knowing yourself as a young girl. Like, so many young girls just look at influencers and look at what they're seeing on social media and they think, well, I need to be like her. You can see how dangerous it is, how young girls are just following in the footsteps of these women that they see in the media. And they think, well, my life needs to be like that. No, get to know yourself. Do some soul searching. Find out who you are. What are your values? What is your ethos? What do you stand for? Who do you want to be seen as? And then decide how you want to be. Because I feel like when young women go on a journey of self-development and self-actualization, that is usually when they come to themselves and say, okay, I want to be rooted in authenticity. So then when you see other people, you do not project insecurity on them because you are so rooted in authenticity. So in fact, you would help another girl.
And I touch on that.
Yeah,
This might be a bit sensitive, but I feel like a lot of girls may have some daddy issues. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Daddy didn't say I'm pretty, so I need a man to tell me I'm pretty. It's dark. And like, even with the comparison with other females and seeing everyone on social media showing this much cleavage, oh, should I do that as well to get the same amount of likes as her? But heavy on the daddy issues. I feel like if you don't have a good male role model in your life telling you you're beautiful and reinforcing, your identity and encouraging you, you are going to seek validation from men. And now we are competing for male attention. And it's a competition. What we
Can't think of anything worse.
I've had a lot of like female friends or people that I just know in general that would be like, oh, I have more male friends than female friends because girls are bitchy. And it's like, I don't know, like, do you guys...
Don't trust that woman.
Don't trust her. Side eye.
But then it's like, I've also seen with my own eyes where it'll be like, for example, I could be in a park with my friends.
No, it happens
and then,
everywhere.
And it could be, oh, one of my friends who's a guy has just brought his friends who are girls. But the girls don't know each other. And then all of a sudden there's about, like, you can even feel the tension.
But
because
do you know
it's
what
like,
that is? That's jealousy.
That's
That's competition.
Insecurity.
Those girls are threatened by that new girl that's just walked in. I've seen it so many times. And it goes back to what we were talking about. They just don't know who they are. They don't know who they are deep down. So they're projecting their insecurities onto another girl who may look more confident than them. She may seem a bit more self-assured.
I feel like this connects with what Shaq was saying time ago about the narrative, men are trash, da, 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 da. I think if men acknowledged how hurt women are, how the majority of us are coming from so much trauma, and that's from childhood. Like, even if you didn't experience the worst of the worst, there is still, I believe, so much trauma in just being a woman, in existing. Radical feminism is a form of feminism that exists because the worst of the worst has happened to some women. And I am it's not all men, absolutely. It's not all men, but it could only take one man to destroy a whole woman's life. So I think that when we look at these women who are super insecure, they're pick-me's, they're screaming men are trash, they're trying to promote these ridiculous, immature, ghetto, right, narratives. I hate it. I don't think it's cute. By the way, I used to do that. I used to do that. But it's growth. It's growth, most importantly. I think when we look at these women, instead of trying to like label them as, oh, they're this, they're that, you've cussed me now because you've called me men are trash. Instead, why don't we look at them with compassion? Why don't we say, how can I help heal you? How can I pray for you? How can I help build you up? Because you've clearly been hurt. I was that woman, I was that girl who was just angry and aggressive all the time towards men. It was, honestly, it's awful to look back at it, but I know it came from somewhere. It came from hurt.
I feel like when we're younger and we're getting raised in this competition of life, we don't hold sisterhood as important as it should be, because I learned to be feminine to women before doing it for men, and that's what makes me the confident woman that I am now. Like, there's no other person, even Beyonce, that could sit beside me is gonna make me feel insecure. I don't care. I'm happy and proud to be the woman I am today. And I feel like that's because it started from a young place with other women. You may think, oh, I'm sitting here and saying marry a rich man, but I'm still saying, first and foremost, everyone knows my preach is self-love first. Self-femininity first. I'm feminine because I like how it makes me feel. Like how you don't want to be in your masculine era. I don't want to feel like a man. I am a woman. I love being a girl.
We don't want to compete with men.
Literally, like being a feminist is empowering and protecting women, right? So we should focus on that aspect from younger and on girl first before anything else.
And that's what I think takes away from the male hate.
Exactly.
The men are trash.
Exactly.
Raising that generation with love and empowerment
Change everything.
for women and for men.
Yeah.
That's how we change the world. But you said it. You said it's collaborative.
Yeah.
But
I was going to
just
say,
don't
how
think-
can we include the men into it? Because the men want the feminine energy, they crave it.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe if they create more like of an understanding, like a safe space for the women, that they'll get more of that.
More
I think
present dads.
I think it depends on the woman that you come across, because it even says in the Bible that a woman's supposed to submit to a man. But some women, they don't even want to do that. And when I say submission, I don't mean, okay, he's told me to do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about showing that emotional side. I'm talking about opening up and say, well, what happened here? Where can I, talking about what you said, Chrissy, about, you know, the past trauma of a woman, but some women, they wouldn't even want to talk about that because it's like, no, I'm sure I can do this by myself. But it's like, again, you can't have your cake and eat it. It's like, you have to decide, do you want to be with someone? Do you want to be happy with someone? Then there's a lot of things that come with it. Like, you have to, I'm not saying stop being confident. I'm not saying stop being independent. I'm not saying do this kind of thing, but you have to let a man in.
You want a level of vulnerability is what you're saying.
If you want to put it in a relationship setting, which I'm trying to stay away from, if that is the man that is for you, because I do also believe one person's for one person, he will go through lengths to break down those walls and make you feel safe. And if a woman's not feeling safe enough to have to come out of her masculinity, that's not your fault and that's not her fault. It just means you're mismatched. So where do we draw the line, you know,
I think you have to break down,
men?
For me personally, I would want to break down those walls before I marry her. Because I don't want to marry someone who I don't know.
Of course, naturally.
And that's what I was talking about in terms of like that vulnerability. Like I said, there are women that have certain masculine energy because they've had to. But if we're gonna be a partnership, be married and have children as well, I need to know you. I need to know all of that before there's any sort of marriage there. And that's the thing where men as well, like just trying to touch in terms of like masculinity and holding men accountable, there are certain things that men do that as a man I don't agree with. Not being there for your children. That's the one thing I don't agree with. Because if I have children after marriage, if I have children, I'm there regardless. I'm there for my child because that's half of me. You were smart enough to make the baby, so don't do the stuff that's after it. Make sure you're there. And, you know, even if you and the mother are not together, that's still the mother of your child. So you still have to treat her with a certain level of respect. Do you get what I'm saying? But there are certain ideologies out there where men are, like I was talking about earlier about the pressure of society on men, where certain women will look at a man's masculinity, he's like, oh, he's not masculine enough for me to be with him. Or he's not man enough to be with me. But what does that mean? What's man enough to be with you mean?
I think that also stems from trauma. Because sometimes our idea of what a masculine man is actually rooted in trauma, and especially like different, I don't know, like ethnic backgrounds. Like the man is really, our idea of a man is very toxic, let's be real. Certain cultures perpetuate that, you know? And so I feel like that's what that is, trauma.
I think it depends on the culture as well, definitely.
Yeah.
There are certain aspects of my culture that I don't agree with. So I relate how I was raised. I look at my dad. I look at how my mom was treated. I look at how my sisters were treated, how my dad treated my sisters. And my dad is someone I can 100% look up to. He was always there. He was always present. He was the time, he made sure we had what we needed to have. So that's someone I can look up to because he wasn't just there and spent the time, he did the other stuff as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like having a strong, positive male role model in your life, that will then depict how you treat your daughters, your wives,
So important.
your friends even, and everything in between. Because
But that's why we have to hold men accountable, the ones who walk away and leave women to just be mothers by themselves. And then instead of society being against the men or holding them accountable, they blame mothers. They say it's their fault. They should have picked a good man. But she thought she picked a good man, though. Do you know what I mean?
On the flip side of that, though, you do get the mothers where it's like they'll use children as a weapon. Where it's like, okay, you annoyed me today. You're not seeing your children.
But
obviously, I know you're a parent, but and I'm not. I have friends who have toxic baby mothers. I have friends who have baby mothers that they get along with. And the difference is like chalk and cheese. The way it affects the child growing up is
crazy.
It's mad because it's like children are such sponges where you don't think they're listening or they're too young to understand. They know what's going on. Even if it's not like they can understand word for word, but they can feel the energy. Women, I feel like they have to hold men accountable, but it's about, again, like you guys said about women's trauma, men have trauma as well. About
They do.
that dad wasn't there. No one taught me how to be a man. No one taught me how to speak to women or to how to treat women.
I think it comes down to teaching men how to be men, teaching women how to be women, how to fulfill our roles collaboratively to discontinue toxic femininity and toxic masculinity, because these are poisons in our society. And I think it all comes down to education. If we are educating our children, we are raising them to be better people, right? I think when it comes to culture, it can be really toxic, it can be really bad. But lots of people have the blessing of our faith to guide us. And I believe that there is biblical masculinity and there's biblical femininity. And I think it's really hard then when we talk outside faith to try to determine what is healthy masculinity, what is a healthy man supposed to look like? What I don't know. And personally, I don't want to know, because I have the blessing of faith. So I'm going to run with my holy book and I'm going to look at that for guidance as to know what a man is supposed to be. So when people say like, what's a man supposed to be? How am I supposed to know? The Bible.
Yeah.
I know I
It's
feel
literally
like
there.
that's
It says-
crazy
it says it.
because it's not everyone's faith.
Yeah.
But I still feel like in the society, we can look to positive role models. We can seek out education. I think a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like we definitely need to keep men accountable, especially if we want to submit to a man. I need to make sure that I'm submitting to someone who's healthy and who knows himself. Like, I'm so blessed that I found Christ and walk with him, because in my faith, it's like a man submits to God and that gives me security. Because if you don't fear God, you ain't fearing me. What?
Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to, you said the difference between healthy masculine and toxic masculinity, I would say the healthy masculine guy wants to lead confidently because he wants to protect and he wants to fulfill his role and his purpose. Whereas the toxic masculine guy just has a need for control and he wants you to submit to his control. So I think for young women, especially watching this, they need to understand the difference, because that's why you're picking the wrong men. I want to talk a little bit more about Gen Z.
The way Gen Z are way more open and the way social media is, it goes hand in hand, but it makes it just a bit techie because of that, men being deemed too sassy, because, you know, a man can feel like he can do certain things women can do, and a woman can feel like they can do certain things men can do. And that's what confuses specific gender roles.
I feel like Gen Z are definitely exposed to more nowadays, which is great, don't get me wrong. They've got lots of tools and knowledge at their fingertips, but it's also very harmful to them, because unfortunately now they're creating problems in their head that probably don't even exist.
Exactly.
You know, I was having a conversation with my little brother the other day, and he's never really had a relationship before, but yet he thinks he has trust issues. No idea where they come from, but he's seen stuff on TikTok or he watches these streamers or I don't know. Are we happy with the rules of femininity? And if we could change up the rules, how would we do that?
I'm happy to an extent. I feel like being feminine is not a bad thing. I feel like when we take it to the extreme, then it can become toxic. But if I look at my word, my Bible, and actually look at what a biblical Proverbs 31 woman is and follow that, it's like, there's so much beauty in that. And I feel like you were saying this earlier, Karine, like having self-love, like being comfortable in who you are. So I'm not projecting jealousy, I'm not projecting negativity. Like, I can be beautiful and you can be you're stunning. There's no need for competition. Yeah. So I feel like, being feminine is not a bad thing, but let's keep it humble, let's keep it genuine. Do you know what I mean? Let's love ourselves.
Authenticity.
There we go, that's the word.
One thing I would say is that, especially for this younger generation, is to aspire to be more. Yeah. Because again, what you see on TV, what you see on socials, it's not real. People show you what they want to show you, not the real life. Make your own mind up. Yeah. If you're a believer in God, if you're a Christian, read your Bible. If you go to church, if you want to know a real insight, if you like the way that your parents have treated each other, speak to your parents. Carry yourself in a confident, in a classy, in a respectful way, because what you portray is what you receive.
I feel like you hit the nail right on the head. And I feel if you're wounded, if you know that as a woman you're wounded, go on a healing journey, heal those traumas. Your future self will thank you. Yeah. And that is so important, because let's not forget that men are dealing with trauma and women are dealing with trauma. And if we really want to talk about this and we want to open up this discussion, how do we dismantle all of these toxic systems that we're, living by? Everybody needs to heal. Yeah. Hurt people hurt people. Yeah. And if you're a woman, especially if you're a young woman watching this right now, I think you need to do soul searching. You need to work out what are the things that make you happy, what are the things that make you feel alive, and who are you when nobody is watching? Well, guys, I wish we could sit here and chat all day, but this is all we've got time for. But it's been a great conversation. So thank you, everyone, for taking part. This has been Roundtable on 48 TV. Thank you for watching.